Welcome everybody. My name is Suzanne Andrews. I'm the CEO at the Quinte West Chamber of Commerce, and I'm delighted to be the facilitator for this year's Women in Business event. It's called Pathways, Pivots, and Patience. Definitely the last one is not one of my strongest suits, but I'm working on it. Small Business Week is being celebrated in communities across Canada, and I would like to thank everyone who worked together to bring it to the Quinte region this year. None of these events would be possible without the support of our sponsors. And I would like to invite the two sponsors of this event to say a few words. Please welcome Brad Labadie, representing the Center for Workforce Development.
Thanks, Suzanne. Good afternoon, everyone, and to everyone in the room and everyone who's here with us virtually, thank you for participating today. This, I believe, is our 5th year that we have sponsored this event each and every small business week for the last 5 years, and it's a key thing for us. Women entrepreneurs are growing in this community, and I think this event helps provide some guidance, some tricks, a number of things that you can take away every year. So I'm looking forward to our speakers today and to the whole afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. The Center for Workforce Development truly is one of our greatest supporters at the Chamber and to our business community, and it's always a pleasure working with Brad and his team at his office. I would like to now welcome Chantal Fraser, representing Trenton District Business and Professional Women and the Work Funding.
Thank you and hello. I'm Chantal Fraser, but for the rest of the day, please refer to me as Fraser because one of our speakers is also Chantal and we don't want to get confused. So for today, I'm Fraser. On behalf of the Business and Professional Women Trenton District Club, I'd like to welcome you to this afternoon's event. BPW Trenton District was formed in 1953. We are women working for women. Our members meet on the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays of each month. Please feel free to visit our brand new website, bpw-trenton.weebly.com, to learn more about us and our inaugural online auction that's taking place all this week, raising funds for Hospice Quinte. I'd also like to thank our partners, the Women's Small Business Network, the Quinte West Chamber of Commerce, and the Center for Workforce Development for helping plan today's event. I hope you all have a great time. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Chantal. When the organizing committee started working on this event in June, we knew this would be a great opportunity to showcase some great women-led businesses that have achieved success in their own way. COVID has forced many businesses to look at different ways of doing things. And for many women entrepreneurs, this is what they've always had to do, even pre-pandemic. Sometimes women take a less traveled route with lots of bends and curves, ups and downs to their business success. We call this the pathway. They may not take the more direct path that most traditional businesses take to establish their business, but instead make their own way. Pivots. Sometimes women get a business idea and they start working towards it, and then something happens and they have to quickly change direction. The COVID pandemic has taught many businesses how to pivot. Women entrepreneurs are used to pivoting out of necessity. And lastly, patience. Sometimes women entrepreneurs get business ideas and make plans, but the timing is not right. And they have to sit on those ideas and wait. It could be family, finances, lack of support, full-time job, or other obstacles that delay in the implementation of dreams and ideas. And this was the theme that the committee came up with to sort of guide us through the afternoon. There will be an opportunity to ask questions during the breakout session, or you can type them in the chat box for those of you that are online. That's going to be at the bottom of your screen throughout the afternoon. And they will all be answered before the closing. Let's meet our guest speakers for today. In the room with us here at Occasions by the Bay, we have Jenny Chandler. She's the owner of Simple Desk. On the call with us, on the webinar, we have Chantal Conlon. She's the owner of Lots of Knots Canada. We also have Inga Alberts, who's the co-owner of Frontera Farms, and Lola Reed Allen, owner of La Quinte Photography. I am going to ask Inga Alberts to start our presentation today. Inga has a passion for wild growing things, from children to flowers to new business ventures. While completing a degree in information studies, she traveled the world to rediscover our essential connection to the natural world. She took root in Prince Edward County, where she co-created Frontera Farm North Beach, a mosaic of micro enterprises striving to rebuild sustainable food systems and experiences to help families connect in these uncertain times outdoors. She's an associate professor for the School of Information Studies at the University of Ottawa and the co-owner of Frontera Farms. So please join me in welcoming Inga to us this afternoon.
Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everybody. I'm very pleased to be here and honored to be here among all these women and men. I will start screen sharing to show you some of the picture of the project. So I'm here today as the co-owner of Frontera Farm. Although, as in the introduction, we see that some women have also a full-time job. I'm also a full-time professor at the University of Ottawa. Bear with me. I'm gonna share some image of the farm here. So my presentation, I wanted to do a presentation today. My understanding is I have around 12 minutes. I'm used to do long lectures, so I'm gonna stop myself. I'm gonna start a timer, so I'm not gonna talk more than 12 minutes to give you an overview of Frontera as a project, and also Frontera as a lifestyle. We live on the farm, so the close to home topic is really speaking to me. And also we had to do a big pivot this year due to COVID. So I'm gonna share the learning that I have from the business. Maybe it's gonna be useful for some of you. So I'm gonna show you a bit of the storyline of Frontera as a project. The vision that I share with my husband, who is also the co-owner, and this vision has been a very strong, what I call the business linchpin during the pivot. So it's important to have this vision. Talk to you about the different experience when I speak about a mosaic of business. So Frontera has many things, and I'm going to show you a bit what are these experiences, the pivot that we needed to do this summer, and also share this experience of what I think is important to facilitate the pivot, what has helped facilitate the pivot. So this is the storyline. Frontera was born a long time ago, so more than 20 years ago, out of a dream. And we were lucky enough, my partner and I, in 2014, to find this farm and discover, for me, I discovered the county. You can hear I'm from Quebec. We were looking to start this project many years ago in Quebec, and then we came for a weekend and fell in love with the county. And we purchased the farm in 2014, which was also the year our first child was born. So I'm also a mother among all all the other things. So, and this has also had a huge impact on the storyline of Frontera as a project. The first year we settle in, we start working on the farm and working the land, and also start working on the opening of a camp, which opened in 2015. I will show you some of the image of the camp. It's a luxury heritage camp. They call it glamour camping, even though I'm not fond of that name. Intelligent camping in the forest adjacent to the farm. We also had the dream to have a brewery, so we planted a hop yard with 1,000 hop plant that same year, and start working the land to be able to have organic barley. So we had our first crop, and a lot of learning that came with that. So you work through the timeline, you see we had drought, we had flood, there was the birth of our daughter, which is now, who is now 3 years old. And slowly but surely, we built the camp, the infrastructure, learn about farming in a very humble way, with Mother Nature taking some decision for us. In 2019, I fell into flowers. I'm going to talk about this as well. As you can see in the photo, I have this big bunch of flowers. So this is also, I would say, a kind of a pivot where I want to go. And in 2020, bang, the pandemic hit us, and we decided, after a long, difficult decision, to close the camp for the sake of our community, and also for the sake of really just recalibrating and deciding what we're going to do with this new reality. We also just launched 5 weeks ago a micro school, which is a learning pod with 6 children, our children and other children from the community, which also I want to present you as a pivot for the farm, which really is answer with the mission of Frontera. So the farm, the camp, the brewery in development, and the micro school. So all of these elements that are that mosaic of different business that we have on the farm. I want to present you the vision that is at the core of the project, because this vision is our light. It guides us in our decision. If you want to start a business yourself, and one of my sides is I teach management at university, and I always tell the student that having a strong vision is absolutely important. So our vision at Frontera is to reconnect people to the land, to their food, to the natural world, and to the understanding of where we come from and how much we have to take care of Mother Nature. And we do it in a very business-oriented way. We really want to bring people to the land, but also teach them about farming practice in a very concrete way. So just how to plant your own garden, or how to have small chicken flock at home. So those kind of approach that talks to people. So in orange, I put the experience that we are having at the moment, where the brewery is still in development, but still we have the hop yard. We're growing our hops, our malting barley. We are a working farm, foremost, and beyond everything. We are working the land, growing crops, growing our food as much as we can. So a huge vegetable garden, chicken, and also cereals for the brewery in development, and hops. We are also offering this luxury camp. I'm going to show you some photo, and the brewery in development. But what I want to show in green is the pivot that we are doing due to COVID. We want to be much more oriented towards sustainable practice. Although we are working the land organically, we are really aiming to have this into a closed loop system where the different components of the business are feeding one another. Let's say you have mash from your brewery, but you're going to feed your animal with this. So we're really trying to have this whole experience connected together on the farm. The camp has been having a huge, I would say, a huge popularity in the area of Toronto. So we were really lucky. A lot of Instagrammer, very trendy. We were very blessed and happy about this, but we want to move also the camp toward more like family wellness, reconnection of family and children together in nature. So that's another orientation that we want to give, and develop much more the nature experience side of the business for our children and the families. So let's see, I'll show you some of the photo. So this is the photo of our camp, the tents, and the type of experience that I would say people from the city have at Frontera. So this is located at the back of the property, and they come stay at the farm, and then they can enjoy the farm. which is at the front. So the pole that you see on the photos are the pole from the hop yard. So since hops is growing in the air, so we have those pole. We also have this big vegetable garden, and here you have a photo of my partner. We're scrubbing or cleaning our malting barley. So there's the farm, and we also have this idea of incorporating much more like children into the experience. So this is our nature experience that we're offering. At the moment, we have a small learning pods of grade 1 and also junior and senior kindergarten together outdoor all day. And they are learning about farming, learning about the forest, the ecosystem, learning also, of course, elementary school matière, so they're learning about reading and writing, but all connected to the land and outside. So that was our first pivot. We lost our care, we lost our school due to COVID, and we said, you know what, we have this barn, they can have a shelter when it's too cold, but the majority of the time they are outside and learning about nature. The second pivot that I like to do next summer is to add what I call the flower immersion. So an experience about flowers, have people come and pick their own flowers, do flower workshop, eat some flowers, learn about flowers. So this is the flower garden this year. I just planted a part of the garden and it just exploded in flowers. So this is another side of the business that we'll like to develop. While the brewery is waiting to grow, we'll see what the market is doing at the moment. And the camp, we are hoping and we think we're going to be able to reopen the camp next summer, but adding more nature-based experience to our guests. So I have 2 minutes left and I don't see part of my slide on the side. So I try to remember everything that I wrote on this slide. So I wanted this presentation to be useful for some of you. So what we've learned through the path of Frontera and through these years of being a mom, a professional, working full-time, doing the business on the side, not necessarily having all the finance to do the big gazula right away. So we had to really go and practice the art of slow bootstrapping, reinvesting, starting with 3 tents, reinvesting into a bigger tent, testing the concept and going slowly. So what I like to share is what I call the business linchpin that helped with the pivot is first the strong vision. We know we have an identity and we know who we are. And this vision is really close to enter into our lifestyle at the farm. So I live at the farm. Frontera is part of us. We often say that it's one of our child. So it's really true in this sense that the vision has helped building or pivoting the business. Resourcefulness, creativity, and art of slow, all this together, we can do so much miracle with a bunch of screw and a piece of wood. That has been also our motto, and I'm very proud of that because we're able to do, I will say, big with small, and don't think that you need a big investment to do a business that will be successful. If you go slowly and you build from your success slowly, I think you can really achieve great results. So it goes with the theme of the conference that you have to have patience. Another thing is focus and structure. I think focusing on also the core mission that you want to have and one line of business at a time and giving it a structure to your business so you exactly know how your business is organized and what are the processes. It's very important to do the exercise of understanding how things will happen in your business and do the different steps and say, for instance, how you greet the guests, what are the different steps, what do you need? So be very organized in that way. And also be authentic to who you are and doing a business that has your flavor. I think that's very important. And on that side, if I remember, I had community and social minded. So for us, it's very important. It has been the motto of the business to really think of the community. We closed because we thought the community, it was better for the community to be protected, so not attract the tourist here. So we had this in mind, and it's very important for us to do good in the world, and that's really a big source of pride and drive for us at Frontera in our business and in my life. And finally, I'm at 12 minutes. I put the word luck in the bottom. I think we were extremely lucky with, and luck is an element important to consider in a business. So luck came along the way and helped us through. So I'm grateful for this. But that would be unjust not to word the word luck and say, for instance, just finding this place was a big luck for us. So thank you for your attention. And if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer some of your questions.
Thank you so much, Inga. That was it was great to hear about all the fantastic things you're working on. And I think anybody who's working in an agribusiness that is counting on Mother Nature cooperating when she should, I think luck is exactly what you need, because for every good season, there's a bad season. Or if you talk to some farmers, it's for every good season, there's 2 bad seasons. It certainly is a commitment that you make when you decide that you're going to design your business to revolve around agriculture and growing things outdoors, for sure. We are going to save all the questions for the end. So we're not going to do questions with Inga right now, but if you have a question for her, you can just write it in the chat at the bottom, or you can just save it for when we do the breakouts, or you can wait until we all come back together after the breakouts and we'll all get a chance to do some final questions for our guest speakers. Okay. So our next speaker is here at Locations by the Bay with us. So Jenny Chandler is the owner of Simple Desk, a multifaceted small business support company. Simple Desk was born when Jenny witnessed her fellow entrepreneurs struggling to balance demands of their business and their personal lives. As a single mom, Jenny knew she could make a difference by leveraging her skills in accounting, administration, and customer service. By removing the workload from her clients' shoulders, their businesses have been able to become more efficient and profitable. When not working, Jenny is spending quality time with her daughter, hanging out with her lady tribe, who I see there's a few of them here with her today to help support her, and making new connections within the community. I've had the privilege of watching Jenny grow her business from the very early days when it was a home-based business, and go through so many different changes and growth over the last few years, not a very long period of time. And it gives me a great pleasure to welcome Jenny up today to share her story with you.
Believe it or not, this isn't my forte. When I was in school, I used to do almost anything that I could to get out of public speaking. I would actually, at the beginning of class, be like, what grade do I need to get on everything else if I don't do this public speaking so that I can still pass this course? It terrifies me, but Chantel asked, so I'm here. How could I turn her down? So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jenny, and I run Simple Desk. And I started out, actually, I'm going to give you some background where I first started. So about 5 years ago, I went through a really rough divorce. I had been married for 15 years, and it took me about 3 years to get back to being myself and stable again. And oh, sorry. I was very angry at all the time I had wasted over the years. And I thought, like, I'm not going to put myself on the back burner anymore. I spent so many years being a mom and a wife, and it's my turn. So I decided I'm going to take the leap. I want to own my own business. So I had been working for a company for about 6 years in industrial sales. Yes, I was really good at it. And then I thought, this really isn't what I want to do. It's not fulfilling. what can I do? What am I do? What skills do I have that I can offer? So at the time, I had been looking for part-time work, and my friend Jillian, she's the best. She was like, Jenny, I have some work for you. Come on over and I'll show you what I need you to do. So she's a mental health therapist, and she's like, I need you to take care of my office and do my billing. And I'm like, oh, okay. Seems super easy. I walked in and her office looks very neat and tidy. And then she's like, okay, come over here. And she opens up the closet and I'm like, oh my goodness. There was a hot mess in there. And so I had to reorganize all her systems and do all her filing and get everything together for her. And one day we were just driving and I was like, I really want to open this business. I don't know what to do, Jillian. She's like, well, you're doing it already. And I was like, oh, obviously that's so smart. So I figured since she needed my service, there was obviously a lot of other entrepreneurs who could use my services as well. So I went home and I did some research, and it turns out there's this thing called a virtual assistant. Who knew? And I was like, I can do that. I can do that. So the next morning I bought my domain name, and within a week my website was up. It was a big step. And so one thing that served me really well over the years is the question that I always ask myself, what's the worst that can happen? And out of all the answers, nothing really seemed that bad, much worse than wasting my years away at a job in industrial sales. So I thought, this is it. So a month later, I went full-time in the business. So that was February 2019. And I started with one contract in my dining room, and we've grown now to over 20 clients. We have 5 staff, and we have a 500 square foot unit on the other side of Trenton. So we have grown quickly. It's a little bit scary at times. So yeah, when I decided to start the business, I thought, it was really scary. Every day was really scary, but I just kept going because I thought to myself, I want my daughter to know that she can do anything that she tries. She doesn't need to put herself last behind other people, and she should go after her goals the way that I did. So my whole life is about teaching her how she should be when she gets older. So sorry. I skipped a few pages.
You can go back to them if you
Yeah.
want,
Okay.
or not.
So once I started, I'm like a lifelong learner. I like to know how to do everything. So I just basically went online and I took every course I could, and I learned anything I could. And I started going to all the networking events. And I remember I was at the what's the one in March? Is it the Women's Day at the marina? And this lady was like, Jenny. And I was like, oh my God, who is this person? I don't know. And she's like, hi, I'm Carrie from Hello Boss Girl. And I was like, oh my God, she knows my name. I like almost fell on the ground. But yeah, from there, I continue to go to all the networking events, and you'll find that in this area, there are so many amazing women, and you're always taught as a woman, like you should compete or compare yourself to other women. But I feel like in this area and in these groups, they're always there to support you and offer like advice or help in any way. So that's kind of how I run my business. I'm not out there looking to close the sale. I'm always like, how can I help you? I'm like, oh, we have some free stuff that we've made. Let me send that to you. Like, Katie, I found her at the farmer's market, and I was like, oh my God, let me help you. I love your business. So that's one of the favorite parts for me in my business. I love hearing everybody else's business ideas. And I'm like, oh my goodness, we could do this. This will help. Like, do you want me to help you with that? Like, how can we help? Like, that's the best part of my business, is seeing other people succeed and helping them get to their dreams. So I said all that too. So I think it was about 6 months in, I went to the Small Business Center for something about Paro. And I thought, oh, wow, this is a great idea. A women's group where you meet up with other business women and have meetings every month, and you can get loans and things through the company. So we started our apparel group. So Brandy from Off the Hook and Dee from Diva Spot and France from Lucid Translations are all part of my apparel group. And we meet up every month and talk business. And it's great to have their support, especially when you're going through the changes and the pivots. You don't know whether is that a good idea, is that not a good idea. So you just have those people there who know what you're going through, and they understand your business, and they can tell you and lead you in the right direction. Like, hey, that's probably not the best idea, or yes, that's the best idea. You need to do that. Just like when Dee expanded, so she expanded, and I took a room in her space before we moved to the new space. So yeah. So yeah, I have a few things that I've learned along the way. So relationships and community are everything. When you give to the community, you get back tenfold. So one of my first big clients, I actually contacted them so I could have files backed up. And in return, they gave me a contract. And I was like, oh my God, my first big client, you know, it was like my first big win. And from there, I always thought anything we need, we're gonna buy that from the community. We've always given back that way. Like Maddie from Sweet Sips, she does all our mugs. And when we needed a new logo, that's where I went. Because, you know, you gotta nurture those relationships in the area, and you don't need to be buying from Amazon or somebody not even in this country. Okay. So 2, you should always trust your instincts. I can't tell you how many times I thought to myself, damn, Jenny, you knew that, and you should have just listened to your gut and gone with it in the end. And the third one thing I've learned is don't be afraid to fail. Failure is what helps you succeed. Franklin Roosevelt said, a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor, which I think is perfect for entrepreneurs, because if you don't go through those ups and downs, you won't know how to manage your business in the end. Okay. So, okay, patience. This is a good one. I have absolutely none. 0. I'm like, okay, Teresa came up with this idea last night. I'm like, we need to implement this like now. And she's like, okay, Jenny, I'll add that to the list. So she actually created me a spreadsheet so I can put all my ideas in it. And so we can eventually get to them. She tries to like rein me in. She's really like day to day. And I'm like, 5 years from now, we need to be doing this, 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 this. And she's like, okay, well, we're going to do some marketing today. She's great. I can't tell you. Oh my God, she's my right hand, and I couldn't do this without her. And I'm so thankful that I found her. I told her we have a soul contract and she is not allowed to go anywhere. So yes, when they say good health is hard to find, it is, but when you find it, don't let it go. You want to treat your employees like as well as they treat you. You know, they have your business in their hands, and you want to make sure that they feel like they're appreciated, so they give back to your company. Yeah, and the pivots. So I think pivots happen all the time. It's not just during a pandemic. You need to be pivoting all the time. Like when I first started out, I thought virtual assistant, and I kind of pivoted the business a bit more towards processes and helping people streamline. And now we've gone more slightly towards marketing, and we've launched an online courses as well. And we're about to launch our YouTube channel. Oh, that's scary. Put my face out there. But yeah, so we want to grow our online presence a little bit more. So that's where we're going. So yeah, when COVID hit, we did immediately go, everyone was sent home, and we made the tough decision to let go of our office space. But when things opened back up in June, we were flooded with work. So that's why we moved to the new space, and we've only been growing since. It was a little bit wild. So we're like, we need to hire people. I think that's just about it. I don't know, if there's a lot of ups and downs in business, and you know, some days you're thinking, why am I doing this? I suck at this. And the next day you're like, I'm so awesome, right? You're on top of the world. But you know, even though there's all those bad days, I would never pass up being an entrepreneur to go back and work for someone else. think that's it.
So just so you all know, the mugs that are on the table today, Jenny just had a big grand opening of her new location. So those are all for you to take home today. Thanks, Jenny, for bringing those and for sharing them with everybody. It is amazing what's happened with her business over the last year and a half. I think we did your very first opening. I think you were home-based, right? When you very first started, and that's what a lot of women entrepreneurs are doing. They start with a home-based business and then build it and build it and build it. And I look forward. I have a couple questions for you when we get to the Q&A at the end. All right. So now we're moving on to our next speaker. Chantel Conlin is the creator of Lots of Knots Canada. She's a macrame artist, author, content creator, and fiber art supplier, known for her video tutorials and innovative designs. She is one of the most followed macrame artists in the world, with over 250,000 followers on Instagram and 150,000 subscribers on YouTube. She incorporates unique fibers into her designs and tutorials using colored string, rope, wool roving, vegan ribbons, raffia baskets, and more. Her first book, entitled Mixed Fiber Macrame, will be available worldwide on November 24th, 2020. She was raised in Trenton, went to the University of Waterloo, and currently lives in Kitchener, Ontario. Please join me in welcoming Chantel with us this afternoon.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. So my presentation is going to be set up a little bit like Jenny's, where I'm just going to take you through my background, how I got started on my business, and how I then turned my side hobby of macrame into a full-time business. So I'll just get started on a little bit on my educational background. So I have a bachelor's degree in recreation and business, as well as a master's degree in recreation from the University of Waterloo. Both of these degrees have really set me up well for what I am doing today. And to just kind of go into a little bit of detail on that, in my undergrad, my business courses focused mostly on marketing, online promotions, and social media marketing, which is, my business would not be successful today without those things. And I'll go into a little bit more detail on those a little bit later in my presentation. And then my master's degree focused on communities and a sense of belonging within communities, which I believe has really helped me to connect to the community of macrame artists that I am now a part of today. So I finished my studies in 2015, and then from 2015 to 2018, I had worked a couple of jobs within the field of recreation. So in 2018, I was working as the programming director and general manager at Allura Rackets and Fitness. Allura is about half an hour from Kitchener. But I always had it in the back of my mind that I had wanted to start my own business. I wanted to be my own boss, make my own hours. And so during this time, I picked up a new hobby of macrame. And if you guys don't know what that is, it basically just involves tying knots and different patterns to create different designs. Most of the macrame pieces that you'd see would be wall hangings, such as this is one here that I made. But more recently, macrame has gained popularity again, and people have been starting to create amazing pieces of art, like rugs and pillow covers and different things like that. So when I first started, I loved creating macrame wall hangings in my spare time. So I was working full time, as I said, but I soon ran out of room to hang them. I had them hanging like all over the house. So in the summer of 2018, I had decided that I would start an Instagram account just for fun to display my work and just see if anyone was interested in purchasing some of these pieces from me, because I couldn't keep them all in my house any longer. So I was surprised and also very delighted that I received my first few orders in the fall of 2018. And those were through just my Instagram account. People had messaged me and said, is this available? And so I would sell through there. So then a couple months after that, so still in the fall of 2018, I had created my own Etsy shop so that I could sell more of my work. And then in December of 2018, my husband and I got married and went on our honeymoon. So basically for that whole month, my business was kind of put on hold. But when we came back from our honeymoon in January, I took some time really to think about how I could grow my business and eventually turn it into a full-time job. Because again, at this time, I was still working full-time at Allura Rackets. So at this time, I had about 7,000 followers on Instagram, but my numbers weren't really increasing. And so I was trying to think about, okay, there's something that I need to do here. This was like a pivot for me. How can I turn this from creating pieces and selling those pieces into something where I can make more money and make more revenue. And so I knew there was two things that I had noticed that were missing from the macrame community. The first one was easily accessible macrame tutorials. And the second was easily accessible macrame supplies. Because these were the two most common questions that I had received online. You know, where do you get your supplies? And how did you learn how to make that? Like, how did you make that wall hanging? People were starting to get more interested in making them themselves. And so then in February of 2019, I had decided that I would start my YouTube channel. And yes, Jenny, it's a scary thing to start, but I promise you it's paid off so much for me. So I have faith for you. So yeah, in February of 2019, I started my YouTube channel. I posted just a basic tutorial on how to tie like one of the most basic knots in macrame. And then I shared also on my Instagram account just a little clip of the tutorial. And I had received a crazy response to this. I had thousands of likes and hundreds of comments on just that one post on Instagram. And so I knew that I had created something of extreme value. And so since that day in February of 2019, I've continued to post video tutorials. So I post them on my YouTube channel. And then I post like mini clips or time-lapse videos of these tutorials on my Instagram feed. I find that they're just so much fun to watch, and lots of people always comment on how they will scroll through my feed and just keep watching all my time-lapse videos. So to provide engaging content like that is of so much value. And so I keep doing it, and it's working out really well for me so far. So that's how I started into macrame tutorials. And then the second thing was macrame supplies. So this took me a little while to source. I did quite a bit of research into where I could source the best macrame supplies, and getting those sorts of cords, so string and rope in different sorts of colors, was also very hard to find. So I thought, how neat would it be if I could offer a range of different colors of supplies. So I tested out a few different products, and then moved forward with a wholesale supplier and started selling macrame rope and string in my Etsy shop. So there was my pivot from moving from selling pieces that I created to becoming more of a supplier and selling the rope and string that other people could use to make macrame art themselves. So the two I found went really well together. So I kind of considered my business now as like a one-stop shop for all things macrame. So people could learn the skills from me, and then they could also buy the supplies from me. Okay, so just a quick break in my journey, just because I want to talk about a little bit about social media, just because this is such a huge component of my business and it would not be successful otherwise. So I noted previously that I had started on Instagram, and which was then followed by YouTube, but I also started to post on other social media platforms as well. I just figured the more content that I could share on a variety of platforms, the more I could spread the word about my business. and kind of just get it out there. So during this time, I also created a Facebook page, a Facebook group, and a Pinterest account. So I'll just touch on those a little bit. So for my Facebook page, it's sort of the same, similar content to what I share on my Instagram feed, but I'm just connecting with a different demographic and a different audience. On Facebook, I find that on Instagram, it's more people around 20 to 40-ish, and then Facebook is a little bit older than that. But I want to engage with everyone. So this was awesome. And then I also started a Lots of Knots Canada community group on Facebook, which now has over 10,000 members. And what I have found that is valuable about that group is that it does kind of create another source of marketing for my business. So members will use my tutorials on YouTube and buy my supplies for my shop, create their wall hangings, and then they'll post their work in my Facebook group. And then, people will start asking questions about, where did you learn that knot, or where did you buy those supplies? And then that will direct new potential customers to my shop and my tutorials, which is awesome. So the Facebook group kind of just runs itself because all the members sort of post on there, and I check in every once in a while. And yeah, so that's great for me as well. So then moving on to Pinterest. Here we go. So I created a Pinterest account again around the same time. And if you don't know what that is, Pinterest is set up so it's similar to Instagram in that you share and pin different photos, but it's set up in a way that if you click on the photo or video that's on Pinterest, it will provide you with a link to other sites. So what I found really valuable about Pinterest for me was that I could post, for example, a photo of some of the supplies that I sell in my Etsy shop, and then link directly from that photo to my Etsy shop. So if someone is scrolling through Pinterest and they see, like, I love that color of rope or something like that, they can click on that and then they will go directly to my Etsy shop. And then I also post the same mini clips and time-lapse videos that I post on Instagram and Facebook. I also post on Pinterest. And so then that's great as well, because then they can click on those videos or those mini clips and then go directly to my YouTube tutorial from there. And so that's worked really well. And I was checking my stats yesterday on Pinterest, and I didn't even realize this, but I have 150,000 followers on Pinterest, which is awesome. So that's really getting the word out about my business too. And then I have 5 to 10 million people viewing my content each month on Pinterest. So this has been like a huge source of marketing for me, and it is all free. So I have never once paid for an online ad. Instead, I create this engaging content that I then distribute onto a bunch of different social media platforms. And then this just attracts viewers to my posts. And it's really as simple as that. So I've never paid for any form of advertising. So just as a tip or advice for people starting up, use social media, use as many platforms as you can. They have been just so valuable for me with my business. Okay, so back to my business journey. So just a quick recap. So in February of 2019 was when I created my YouTube account. And then at the same time, I started stocking macrame supplies. But I was still working full-time at Allure Rackets at this time. So in May of that year, my business had grown quite a bit, and I was unable to keep up with both this business and my full-time job at the Racket Club. So I then reduced my hours to go part-time at the Racket Club so I could continue to grow my business. And then by summer of last year, my business had continued to grow, and I saw this huge surge since I had started creating tutorials and providing supplies for people. So I had gone from, at the beginning in January, like 7,000 followers on Instagram to now 75,000 followers on Instagram. And I'd already gained about 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. So that was awesome. And it was growing at a rate that I hadn't even imagined, but I was obviously so happy about that. So then in September of 2019, so after the summer, I was contacted by a publisher with an opportunity to write a book. And of course, I was so happy and thrilled, so excited about this opportunity, but I knew that I would not be able to both write my book and then also work, even though it was just part-time at the rec club, I knew I needed to spend full-time hours. And trust me when I say I worked from sun up to sundown on this book. And so, yeah, I knew that I wouldn't be able to do them both at the same time. So at that time I had decided, you know, I'd loved my job at the Racquet Club, but it was time to move on from that and turn this side hobby of macrame now into a full-time job, which was awesome. And so yeah, that was at about a year ago now, when I had started doing this full-time. So in the past year, I've continued to grow my business. I still post weekly video tutorials on YouTube. And then I've also, as Suzanne mentioned at the beginning, I've expanded my rope of macrame supplies. So now, expanded my line of macrame supplies. So where I used to just sell rope and string, I now sell rope, string, raffia, vegan ribbons, velvet ribbons, wool roving, just all sorts of supplies that you can incorporate into your macrame art. And then just to touch on the topic of pathways, pivots, and patience, looking ahead to the future, we are expecting a baby in January of this year, and we are so excited. But I know there's going to be lots of bends and curves as we adjust to that in January. So the last few months and in the next couple of months, I've been kind of doing my best to get ahead of my tutorials and various like other projects that I've been working on, so that when she is here, I can still continue to run my business. And I do run it from home, which is great. You know, with the help of family and friends, of course. Hopefully I can continue to grow my business when she arrives. So yeah, that's everything. I hope you guys enjoyed my presentation. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Chantal. That was great. And some of the things she didn't touch on is that many of the products that she's selling, she's actually importing as well. Importing from other countries. Is that not correct?
Yes, it is. Yes.
So she's now also an importer on top of everything else, not just
yes.
importing and distributing and packaging up all those supplies. And I think also, if you want to just maybe mention about how you have received recognition from some of these social media platforms.
Yeah, so I guess that's like a big component to my business too, and why I really just love so much like what I do is because I receive so many messages from people all over the world. So not just in Canada, but I receive messages from people in Australia, New Zealand, everything, saying how much they appreciate that I take the time to create these tutorials for them so that they can learn this craft. And especially through COVID, when people unfortunately are losing their jobs, or if they're working from home and they have more time, they've been picking up a new hobby. So I found that a lot of people are turning to macrame, and they just appreciate so much that I'm able to provide this sort of space where they can do something new, which is awesome. So.
And you have actually received awards, have you not, is it from YouTube or from?
Oh, yes. So when I passed 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, I received a plaque, which was awesome. So I do have a plaque from YouTube now. And I think they do send out a plaque once you hit 1 million as well. And at the beginning I was like, no way, that's not gonna happen. But now that's like my next goal, is to hit 1 million subscribers on YouTube. So, and then I get the gold plaque. Right now I'm at silver. So that would be awesome.
That's great. Okay, and so anybody has any questions for Chantal, just save them for when you do the breakout rooms or for the Q&A, or you can type them in the bottom. And we are now going to move on to our fourth speaker, And then after the speaker, we are going to take a short break. So I'm going to introduce Lola Reed Allen of La Quinte Photography. She's addicted to slow travel. Lola has trekked in Spain, Peru, Guatemala, Chile, and Canada, summited Africa's 2 tallest peaks, been on camel safaris, and is a certified dog musher. In 2017, she created the Armchair Traveler Photography Series to share her adventures. Lola's career spans the skies as a commercial pilot to the ocean as a scuba dive master with more than 500 dives and 5,700 flight hours. Traveling the world with her camera, she slept in caves, hammocks, hangars, tents, and evergreen shelters. She stayed in Berba, Maasai, and Mayan homes, lived in Mexico, Belize, and Guatemala, studied psychology, genetics, and anthropology. And on top of all this, she is a proud Rotarian. Please join me in welcoming Lola Reed Allen.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for having me come today to speak to you. And what a great lineup. I'm so pumped listening to all those really wonderful presentations. When Chantal contacted me via email, she said, oh, you know, we'd like to have you come and we'd like to talk about the radical pivot. And I was a bit surprised at first. I thought, what's so radical about stuff I've done? But then I realized that when I stepped back and looked at the various careers that I've had, scuba dive master, adventurer, airline pilot, guide, lecturer, now photographer, they all seem really maybe disjointed, and they're certainly very diverse, but they actually all flowed together very, very nicely. I have obviously a wide range of interests, and perhaps I get bored pretty easily, but they all flowed very nicely. I won't say that there weren't any gaps. There were some small gaps when I had a couple careers that just didn't fit with me. But then when the opportunity for change or pivoting presented itself, I just saw that as an opportunity. So why do we pivot? Well, we have external conflict, so adverse personal circumstances, death, illness, injury to spouse or other family member. In one of my cases, my mother died very suddenly. She was elderly, but it was still sudden. Or divorce, social impact, job loss, job restructuring, or pandemic. Change is forced in this case, but not desired. Or internal conflict. In my case, I was personally dissatisfied. I was 24 years old. I looked like I had a very happy, wonderful life, but in fact, I was married to an alcoholic, violent husband. Now, to his credit, he was also full of joie de vivre. He was intelligent, hardworking, a great provider, but not so much fun when he was drinking. I was also professionally dissatisfied. I was really bored at the bank. So change was desired badly, but I still waited 3 years to change my life. Why? Because I was afraid. So even though we know we need to change, some people do thrive on it, and obviously I learned how to do that. But initially, it took me 3 years to make that first step because we really want to fuck everything and run either physically or emotionally. We also, as women particularly, buy into false evidence appearing real. We buy into stories about the big bad world, fear of the unknown, making a change, doing something different. We're also really subject to appropriate roles for women as gender socialization. So then Amelia Earhart, one of my heroines, says the most difficult thing is the decision to act. The rest is merely tenacity. These fears are paper tigers. You can do anything you decide to do. You can act to change, to control your life. The procedure, the process is its own reward. So what affects women's choices? Well, we have internal questions and external messages. So women tend to downplay our abilities. We asked ourselves, am I smart enough? Can I afford the education? Will career X fit with my personal life? Or will my personal life fit with career X? Do I have all the qualifications and can I succeed? And generally speaking, men don't ask themselves these questions. They just assume the answer is yes to all of them. Women are raised to be pleasers. We respond to the world around us and the expectations of parents, relatives, teachers, guidance counselors, friends, peer pressure, society, media. Just reading all those, looking at those is tiring. And this is the media and how it had influenced me. When I was a little girl, I grew up in Belleville. I haven't always lived here, but I grew up in Belleville, and every pilot that I saw, even though I wanted to be a pilot, every pilot I saw was a man. So here are some of the images, and I almost think Train Your Wife is a joke. It's kind of a sick joke, and the reason I think it's a joke is there's actually a Train Your Husband to match it. However, here is definitely not a joke. If I can fly, you can fly. I did not start flying in 1968, but I found this in a magazine kicking around some airport. And of course, the assumption is if, you know, a woman, a housewife can fly, you can too. And up in the corner here, typically a typical mom with kids looking after her husband. And in the bottom right-hand corner, I found this a little bit later, sometime in the 80s. And that happened to me on many occasions. I've been asked what drinks or what's for supper. Are you really going to fly the airplane? Did you did you not just borrow that particular outfit? People are surprised, and yet for men, many men have excellent career models. There's so many options that were open to men. So my husband, for example, knew at an early age, at age 6, he wanted to be a doctor. His father, his uncle, his grandfather, his great-grandfather, they were all medical professionals. This is my current husband, by the way. But women don't often have those models, those role models. Just so you might think, oh, those photos are so out of date. I went online and I found some, sadly, much more recent from the 21st century, where we're still getting that stereotyping about women. Look like a girl, act like a lady. What does that mean? Be a juvenile, but remember your manners. But remember, think like a man. And then the middle one, which totally gobsmacked me, she didn't become a good lawyer by spending hours in the library. Now, it's supposed to be for networking, but the sexual implication there is what kind of networking is she actually doing? Now, to their credit, Bic apologized and withdrew the ad, and the New Zealand ad was also withdrawn. Here are much more empowering images. Paola in the left and Sheridan are good friends of mine, and they fly for Porter Airlines. And interestingly, Sheridan is holding Captain Barbie. The sad thing today is that when I started flying in 1979, 5% of commercial pilots were female. Today, there's a lot more women flying, but I bet you'd be surprised that still 5% of commercial pilots are women. Now, Porter has skewed that a little bit. They actually have 10% of their pilots are females, but it is very difficult to break into, and the discrimination is still there. It quite often isn't overt or punishable. It's more like the little microaggressions is what we're calling them. Did you really borrow? Is that jacket really yours? And in the bottom, on the right-hand side, you can see Captain Rolohote of Middle Eastern Airlines, the first time in Lebanon, an all-female crew. You notice that's particularly recent, last week. So what we need to do, especially in times of a pandemic, is when we're no longer able to change the situation, we're challenged to change ourselves. And that's what happened to me. Learning to fly boosted my confidence, and leaving my husband was my first pivot. Now, the interesting thing there is he when I was preparing to leave him, he said, "You'll never make it on your own. Women need a man. You won't be successful. No man would ever want you because you're now divorced and you have a child." Of course, none of that was true, but at that point, I didn't care whether I never dated another person in my life. But my first real pivot, it was so successful. So Viktor Frankl says, everything can be taken from a human, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to make one's own way. And I think that the three previous speakers have really demonstrated that in terms of adversity. Timing is also important. Chantal's career just took off at the time that we were all stuck at home. That's not to say that it wouldn't have taken off, but maybe not quite so quickly. I personally love macrame. So changing dreams to reality. We've all heard of Lao Tzu, the 6th century BC's philosophers. The journey of a thousand miles begins with a single step. But at no time during my first few flight lessons did I think this will be my next career. I mean, hey, men were pilots, right? But taking lessons was that first step. So then when I learned major air carriers required 20/20 uncorrected vision, I realized I'd never fly for Air Canada or Nordair or any of the big guys, but I became a commercial pilot flight instructor anyway. So I'm still moving along step by step, but I knew I needed to diversify. So I enrolled in university, Waterloo's correspondence program, continued flight training, became a multi-engine instrument pilot. But in 2 years, I had no idea I'd be flying large twin engines for the Ontario government in the subarctic. But guess what? I love flying, but I'd never fly for a major air carrier. I considered my next move, a next pivot. I thought maybe I would fly for a different company. I would go fly in America, fly in a different region with the same type of aircraft. While I was thinking about this change that I wanted to embrace, I learned to scuba dive. Hey, I just wanted to dive with my boyfriend. No idea that I'd break up with him, move to the Mayan Riviera, and then become a professional dive master. When I went to Mexico, wow, my next career morphed from the dive shop owner's casual suggestion, because you can't be a diver forever, with my photographs to educate travelers. So I lectured and I presented the undersea world, birds of the Yucatan, let's visit Maya archaeological sites and get to know the modern Maya. The focus here on the Maya was that my studies at university were anthropologically and centered and humanistically centered. So I had moved to Mexico to study the Maya, but my income was as a professional diver. So these lectures were pivotal. People loved my photographs. So now I'm a photographer. I'm recognized internationally, regionally, and nationally. And these are some of the magazines and publications that have published my photos. Here are some of the images. And by the way, this is not terribly lucrative. You do make money, but with a lot of the smartphones these days, many people think that they can take a good picture, and some people can take very, very good pictures with smartphones, but being a professional photographer is still very different. Networking is involved. There's some of the photos. If you're interested locally, this particular one is at the Parrott Gallery at the Belleville Public Library, showing until November the 15th. I've won many awards. This is my most recent one for creative excellence. I call it Cloud Atlas #1, and I challenge anybody to tell me what it is. I know what it is, but see if you can guess what it is. And Moroccan pots from obviously Morocco, but the city of Fez El Bali, also showing at the Parrott Art Gallery. So how did I manage to do all these careers? I kept a positive attitude. Even when I was leaving my husband, I had a positive attitude. And I still thought the best of him, no matter what. I set step-by-step goals. I embraced the detours, the setbacks. I maintained focus. And I would say more than anything else, don't let others change your mind. Be determined. Change fear to face everything and rise. Change your life. Achieve your goals. So as a pilot, I've been written about twice in 2 different magazines, The Sky's the Limit and Canadian Women in the Sky. And much to my surprise, at the Aviation History Bushplane Museum in the Sioux, my name is on the wall for women in aviation. Probably that's because that when I became a pilot, I mentioned that 5% of women were commercial pilots, and that in Canada translated to 200 women. And I've also started writing about my life in aviation and that of lives of other women in aviation. Thank you very much. And I look forward to your questions.
Wow, thank you so much. I know a couple of people that want that career. I think one person in this room that has actually started a very similar career to that. She loves to travel and do the adventuresome slow travel, as you called it, Lola. We're going to now take a networking break. For those of you joining us virtually, you can stay on the meeting for an unmoderated chat, or you can take a health break and join us back at 2:45. And for those of us here in the room, we're going to take a break here. So we'll Actually, maybe we don't really need quite half an hour, maybe more like 20 minutes. So let's join back at 2:35. For those of you that are on the call, we'll start with our breakout rooms, and this is going to give you a chance to ask all of our speakers in a smaller setting some great questions that maybe you have, and then we're going to all get back together after the breakouts. It'll take about half an hour all together, then we're going to come back all in one big group, both virtually and at the live event, and we can do a final Q&A with our speakers. Okay, so enjoy a 20-minute break, and we'll see you back here at 2:35. Hopefully everybody enjoyed that breakout. Thank you for taking part in that, and a big, huge thank you to our 4 guest speakers who have stayed with us and answered all of your questions. If there's any other questions that you didn't get to ask, or maybe you were in a breakout with the speaker that you had, you can type it into the chat at the bottom of your screen. And for those of you that are live in the room with me, when we get everybody back together, you'll have a chance to raise your hand and we'll get your question in front of either Chantel or Lola, who weren't able to participate with us in our breakout. And if you have, we're actually now going to draw 5 names from all of the participants today. You will each get a gift certificate for $20 worth of downtown dollars to spend at a variety of locations in downtown Trenton. And so I've got some envelopes, and there is a list of all the businesses in there in downtown that you can spend these downtown dollars at. For those of you that are here in the room, we can give you your envelope today. And for those of you that are joining us virtually, they will be available for pickup at the chamber, and we will get in touch with you, or you can give us a call. So I'm going to do the draw now. So we have nobody else's fingers touching anything. So just give me 1 second. So the first winner is Liz Nicholas from the MFRC. She's joining us virtually. So Liz, we will get your downtown dollars to you. Next, we have Toby Toth, who is also joining us virtually. So we will get your downtown dollars to you also. What else we have here? Karen Bourgeois, also joining us virtually. Jen, did you come in at the library? No, another virtual one. We have Melanie Rocco is our 4th winner. And okay, come on, we're going to have at least 1 winner here. Aha! In-person ticket, Maddie Pilon. So we'll get it to you at the end. Yeah. So anyways, well, in the envelope with your gift certificates is a list of businesses, so you can go to any of those businesses and have a little treat on us and the committee and our sponsors today. So we're now I'm going to ask Morgan to bring up, there's a survey question that's going to go on. So we're going to post a series of quick questions. There's 2 of them. If you could take a moment to answer for those of you that are joining us virtually. We're going to talk to those that are here in person. They'll get it sent to them. If you have any topic suggestions for next year or would like to leave a comment in this event, please type it into the chat. So we're going to take those comments and use them to help plan our event for 2021. And I'm now going to go to each of our panelists to see if they have any closing thoughts or comments they would like to share while we just get together any last minute questions, okay? So I'm going to start with Lola. Lola, do you have any closing thoughts or comments you would like to share with us?
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me. I had a great time. It was nice virtually meeting everybody and hearing about the experiences of others. Very empowering, very inspiring. Thank you for including me.
Okay, wonderful. Next, I'm going to go to Chantal Conlon. Do you have any closing comments or thoughts that you would like to make today?
Just reiterate what Lola said. Thank you so much for having me. That was awesome. It was really awesome to hear from all the other speakers. And yeah, if you guys have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer.
And maybe what I'll do is the ladies here in the room, while we have Lola and Chantal here, because we did not get to do a breakout with them. Are there any questions right now for either Chantal or Lola that you'd like to ask? Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Chantal. You mentioned that you have a lot of views on YouTube. Do you get any revenue from YouTube for that?
So Chantal, if you couldn't hear it, you were asked that you've got a lot of followers on YouTube, and they were asking if you get any revenue from YouTube because you have so many followers.
Yes, so I had meant to mention that in my presentation. Yes, so I get paid through YouTube puts advertisements on my videos. If you have a certain number of subscribers and you have a certain number of hours of watch time on your channel, then you're eligible for advertisements on your videos. And so, yes, I do get paid by YouTube for putting those advertisements on my videos.
I'm sure many people wish that they had. That's great. Questions for Chantal or Lola? Not at this time?
Great
Okay.
job.
Great job. They just,
Great job.
everyone here in the room is saying great job. Hear that applause. Now I'm going to go to actually Jenny in the room here. Do you want to come on up and if you have any closing comments?
I guess I just want to say thanks for having me. And if anybody has any further questions or needs any help of any kind, just go to the website and shoot us an email. We'd be more than happy to help.
Okay. Very good. And then finally, we're going to go to Inga and ask her if she has any closing comments that she'd like to make or thoughts.
Yes, so I suspect that if people are attending this event, it's because they have a business idea or they're exploring the idea of becoming an entrepreneur. So I would just say jump. Don't overthink it. Just take the leap of faith and jump, and I'm sure something good's gonna come out of it. And at least you're gonna learn a lot about yourself. And the best part is it's such a thrill to have your business. It's the freedom that comes with it, the creativity and the all the new path that you find that you didn't think that you will find. So yes, go ahead. And I would say if you have questions and you want to contact me, please do not hesitate to contact me. I don't know if the participant will have access to our email or yes.
We will be sharing out an email afterwards with all of our panelists' contact information, along with the recording of this. So if there's some information that you want to watch again, you enjoyed it so much, you want to keep watching it, then you'll be able to do that. Okay, and also share it with any women friends that you have that perhaps couldn't join us today that you think would really benefit from listening to these 4 great speakers.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I would like to ask everybody, those online and those in the room, to please join me in a big round of applause for our 4 speakers today. Interesting journeys to share, and I'm sure that you've inspired many of the women that are joining us today. We will be sending you all a token of our appreciation for taking time out of your very busy schedules to join us. We know that it's not easy to carve out a bit of time in your schedule, so we truly appreciate it. And I want to just thank you. When we were putting this event together, the organizing committee, we really wanted to find 4 women that would inspire everybody else, because it has been a difficult year for so many businesses, and I think that we nailed it. I think that we really had some fantastic speakers this year, and I'm so proud of inspiration. I'm proud of your journeys, and I'm proud that you're just always out there looking for that next opportunity to grow your business and also enjoy a lifestyle that you have made a priority in all of your lives. we're going to get a farewell from our sponsors. So I would like to call on Chantel Fraser to bring farewell greetings from the Trenton District BPW and Women Offering Resources and Knowledge Fund. So Chantel, over to you.
Thank you, Suzanne, and thank you to all the speakers. There's some key themes between all four of you that kept coming out, and it's, make a choice to take that jump and keep a positive attitude all the way through, because you can achieve amazing things when you do that. So thank you all for sharing that similar theme. And I'd like to let everybody know that BPW Trenton District is holding our inaugural online auction. We're raising funds for Hospice Quinte, and you can see it on our Facebook page, which is in the materials handed out, or you can go to our brand new website, bpw-trenton.weebly.com, to learn more about our auction and about BPW. We welcome all people to come to our meetings the fourth Wednesday of the month to try before you buy and see if you're interested in learning more about us. Thank you to our fellow sponsors, and thank you to Women Offering Resources and Knowledge for helping to fund this day's events. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Chantal, and thank you for being our online virtual guest today. And now I'd like to call up Brad from the Center for Workforce Development to bring final greetings from CFWD.
You didn't say CFWD.
No, I know, I'm not training.
Thank you. Today brought a lot of emotion. Suzanne seemed a little emotional. The stories that I heard today were stories of resilience, stories of how to pivot, whether it's a pandemic or not. And there are stories that I think any entrepreneur, whether you're a woman entrepreneur, whether you're a man entrepreneur, whether you're a teen, whether you're an older person, could really learn from. And so I want to thank them for sharing, because some of those are hard to share sometimes. But I thank them. At the Center for Workforce Development, we're one of 26 boards across the province that are funded by the Ministry of Labor Training and Skills Development, with a local focus on labor market research and workforce development. So hearing stories like this really brings it to the ground when I'm looking at the labor market, and especially during times like this, when people have to pivot. It's encouraging that we can share things like this and make people realize that it's okay. You can make a change in your life. You can move forward. And think about being an entrepreneur, because many people have ideas, but they're afraid to bring them forward because they're afraid of failure. Well, failure to me is just the ability to move on to the next one. So thank you everybody for attending today, and thank you for and to the chamber and to BPW.
Also, I would just like to take a moment and thank Sandra for her help on the organizing committee today. It was great. I know that WSEN, all these acronyms, right? So Sandra's been a great help on the committee, along with Toby as well, who actually was one of our winners this afternoon. She also helped us out with getting some guest speakers and making sure that we had a great lineup for you today. I want to thank everyone who has attended today. Please make sure to check out the rest of the Quinte Business Week activities. All day tomorrow, there's workshops in Prince Edward County. They're hosted in Prince Edward County, but actually they're all virtual, so I suppose it doesn't matter where it is, but they are being hosted by the Prince Edward County Chamber of Commerce, and there's some great speakers that they have brought in. And then on Thursday, the Belleville Chamber is hosting some fantastic roundtables with the health unit, with MPP Tom Smith, with MP Neil Ellis. If you have any questions for them around some of the regulations and the things that are happening, you can join them. And then they have also a marketing workshop that is being hosted by the Small Business Center and on LinkedIn. So make sure you check that out. And of course, every year the finale is our Business Achievement Awards, which will be live streamed for the first time ever. Normally, we have about 350 to 400 people in a banquet room helping us celebrate both the nominees and the winners. This year, because of COVID, that's not happening. But we have just as many fantastic nominees and just as many winners. And we want to invite the whole community to join us live for the first time to help us celebrate their success. So please go online to pba.ca and register. It's free, and you can join us for all the excitement live. You may know some of the winners too. You never know, right? So anyways, thank you very much. We'll see you all next year.